What's up, guys? Today we're going to be going over my current OP10 Yellow Kid deck list. This is the one I've been using for the past couple of weeks, and then the one I just brought to the Virginia Beach Regional. So let's hop into it. All right. For those of you that don't know Yellow Kid's ability, it is at the end of your turn, you may turn one of your life cards face up, and then you can set one of your supernova type characters with a cost of 3 to 8 as active, and then that character gains blocker until the end of your opponent's next turn. So it has built-in blocker capabilities. And one thing I'd like to note is that even if the character is active, it can still gain blocker. So you don't need to restand a character to make it a blocker. Any 3 to 8 cost supernovas can be a blocker. All right. First thing is 4 of the new OP10 Searcher Luffy. He is a generic searcher card. He searches top 5 for a Supernovas type card other than himself or another Luffy card. And he is a must 4 of. He helps with consistency in the deck. And there's not a lot else to say other than that for him. Next is 3 of Scratch Man Apu. He is a 1 cost, 1k counter card. His ability is if you have a yellow Supernovas type character other than himself, this card gains blocker. So he is a super helpful card in many matchups. He lets you get another small blocker out there on the board. In addition to your leader giving things blockers, having more blockers to protect life or other characters on board is nice. And having one for just 1 cost comes up so many times. And I could see even running him at 4. I love having him in the deck, and his ability is almost always there because this deck runs around supernovas, so you're almost always going to have a supernovas type character other than him out on the board. You'll usually earlier in the game search with Luffy or play out something else, and then you can drop him later. So super good card, and I really enjoy him. Keeping on with the blocker theme, I run 3 of Shirahoshi. She is a sticky blocker. Her effect is when this character is KO'd by one of your opponent's effects, you get to heal a life, basically. So this causes people to not want to KO it with effects, so it sticks on the board. There are many ways to get around that. Like Shanks has Beckman, but having her out on the board makes Shanks choose what to Beckman. So if you have her and then something else out on board, like one of your 5 or 6 cost characters, it'll make them choose between the two. So she is super good, a sticky blocker. I could see switching this out with another card that I'll get to later, but I really like her in the deck. Next card is 4 of the Beige 2K, a yellow staple. For those of you that don't know, the trigger is basically a leader a character can attack. So this helps win games out of nowhere. Seeing one of these in life is awesome and always welcome. But he's a very good card. I love having him in the deck just as an extra backup if necessary. Next card is 2 of the new OP10 Zoro. His ability is if you have less life cards than your opponent, this character gains rush. Usually this isn't the case, and I mean occasionally it is, but usually you're going to have equal to or less. So he usually doesn't gain rush, but his trigger is you can trash a card to play him, and that's pretty nice. This combos well with the 7 cost law as well, which I'll get to later. But this card is kind of a floating open spot. I'm thinking about switching this out with something else, but I'll get to that later in the video. Next is the best 2K in the deck, X Drake. So he came out in OP10. His ability is activate main, you may rest this character, and if the number of life cards is equal to or less than the number of your opponent's life cards, you can rest up to one of your opponent's 4 cost or less characters. Super useful, especially late game. If you're at 0 life or you're at 1 life, your opponent's at 1 life or something like that, he can help you get around blockers and go for game if you need to. Or early game, if, say, you're playing Bonnie and they play out a Tashigi, you can play him out, tap him, rest a Tashigi, and then swing into it. So he is super useful. If you have him and other 2Ks in your hand, always counter out with those other 2Ks first, because he's definitely the most playable 2K in the deck. All right, next card is 4 of the new Basil Hawkins. He is an awesome card. His ability is on KO, you get to trash 1 card from the top of your opponent's life cards. So super useful. He's a sticky body. And then in combination with leader ability, you can force trash a card from your opponent's life. So if you get him out there and then use leader ability on him, he becomes a blocker, and then you can block with him to trash their life. So that's super useful. His trigger is also very nice. It is a cycle trigger, so you get to draw 2 and trash 1. This also combos very well with the 7-drop law. So must 4 of, and he is awesome. Next card is Nami. I run 4 of her. So her ability is, on play, you may trash 1 card with trigger from your hand, and you can KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. Then if you have 3 or less cards in hand, you get to draw a card. And then her trigger is just activate the main effect. So this gives you the ability to deal with your opponent's board early game. Super useful into the Bonnie matchup, and then also various other matchups like Shanks, you can deal with the 5-drop Luffy, and so on. So she is super nice for dealing with your opponent's board and helping get rid of mid-game threats. All right, next is another 2K. I run 4 Satori. He is a 2K, and then his trigger is you can trash a card to play him. So if he's in life, it's super nice because you get to get another character for basically free. It costs you a card out of hand, but sometimes having another body out there is just super nice. All right, next card is 3 of the OP10 Cavendish. So he is just a 6/8 vanilla. He is a big body that you can slap down on your 6 or 7 Dawn turn, and you can use leader ability on him. So he can become a 8K blocker. So he's a big body that's pretty hard to remove for a lot of decks. So he is pretty good in the deck. Next card that some people run, some people don't, but I really like her is Robin. And I run 4 of her. So she is from OP09, and her ability is on play. If your opponent has 3 or more life cards, you get to trash up to one of your opponent's life cards. So this is super awesome. Her ability comes up a lot. And so if you're going second, you have the potential to trash like 3 life in a row, and I can get to that combo in a little bit. But super nice. Her trigger is also kind of niche, but sometimes comes up. Usually you don't want to trigger it out, but the ability is play up to one yellow character card with a cost of 3 or less from your hand. So usually you don't want to do that because it costs 2 cards out of hand to play a small body. But say she's the last life card and your opponent's going for lethal, and you have either a Shirahoshi or an Apu in hand, you could use that trigger to play one of them and potentially survive. So it's useful in that scenario, but most of the time you don't trigger it. All right, now we get to some of the main cards of the deck. So Trafalgar Law. He is probably the best card in the deck. It's in contest with the 8-drop Kid, but he is amazing. His on play is reveal up to one Supernovas type character card from your hand, add it to the top of your life cards face down, then give up to one Rested Dawn to one of your Supernovas type leader. So this card lets you heal, lets you give a Dawn to your leader, all for 7 Dawn. He's super important for keeping your life healthy, and then also he refreshes leader ability. So say you have a face-up life card, and because you have a face-up life card, you can't use your leader ability, but he heals you one, and so that refreshes leader ability and lets you flip that card face-up to then make something a blocker. Some of the best cards to combo with him would be Basil Hawkins, just so you can cycle more, and then Zoro so that you can trigger him out. He's a must 4 of in the deck, and he is awesome. All right, the next very important card in the deck is Kid. I run 4 of him, and his ability is on play. You may rest this character, trash up to 1 card from the top of your opponent's life cards. And then his secondary effect is end of turn. If your opponent has 2 or less life cards, draw 1 card and trash 1 card from your hand. So his on play is amazing. You get to trash life, and then end of turn, if they have 2 or less life, you get to cycle. And it's a really good cycle because you get to draw first and then trash. So he is amazing. He lets you burn life and fix your hand. So he is a must 4 of in the deck. Him and Law are the heart of the deck, basically. So these 2 cards are amazing. And then the last 3 cards that we have are Ace. Ace is really good in a lot of circumstances. So his on play is add up to 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life cards. Then if you have 2 or less life cards, this character gains Rush. So he is another card that lets you heal. And then because you can heal, you can refresh leader ability and make something a blocker. And then if you're at 1 life when you're healing, or before you heal, then he also gains Rush, which is super nice because you can swing either into life or you can swing into board if you need to control that. So this is the list I'm currently working with. I might make a few small changes, but I'll go over those possibilities at the end of the video when I go over some cards that can be used in the deck other than what's here. So overall, the deck has performed very well and is just super fun to play. Last weekend, I used this list at Virginia Beach and went 7-3, ended up in 82nd place, so bubbled out of top 64, which is unfortunate, but that's okay. Still had a very fun day, and the list felt really good all day long as well. In addition to that, I participated in some side events, and in one of the 64-person side events, I used this list and went undefeated, so that was pretty cool. But overall, this list feels great and does well into a lot of the current meta. Out of the more popular decks, some of our favorite matchups are Shanks, Zoro, and Dofi. Into Shanks, I like taking second. Into both Zoro and Dofi, I like taking first. And that's just to prevent both of them from hitting their ideal curves. Dofi can be a little tougher now that they're running more removal cards. If they see multiple red rocks, that can be a little rough, but generally I think we're still favored. Some of our tougher matchups in the current meta are Teach and Bonnie. Teach is tough because they turn off our on-play abilities, so we don't get full value out of our Law or Kid. Bonnie is also pretty tough for us. Their leader ability is really good. It rests one of our characters when we attack. In addition to that, they run Hody Jones, and when that card comes down, it can rest 2 of our characters, so it can rest whatever we made a blocker plus another card. So that is tough to deal with. And then they also run the 8-drop Eustace Kid, and without Kingdom Come, we don't have a great way to deal with that. You could run the 8-drop Katakuri. That is an option for the deck. I don't currently run it, but I could definitely see that being in the deck to deal with that card. Into both of those decks, I like taking second. It gives you a better shot of winning. Into Bonnie, another important thing is Nami. Nami lets you answer whatever they play on their 5-Dawn turn. And so into the Bonnie matchup, I almost always hard mulligan for the Nami, just so I can answer the Cavendish, Smoker, or Carrot that they play out. So Bonnie and Teach are difficult, but still winnable. And then another popular deck is Purple Luffy, and that matchup's more of a coin flip. Purple Luffy loves going first, and their going first curve is amazing. It's better than our second curve. So if you win dice roll in that matchup, always take first. That gives you a better shot. If we have to go second, we're slightly unfavored, but it's still winnable. But taking first is ideal. There are a ton of other decks out there. If you want to know how this deck does into other matchups, or if you'd like to know more details about the matchups I stated previously, leave a comment down below and I'd be happy to talk to you there or in Discord. Or if you want a more detailed guide to some of those matchups, I could potentially make a video for that in the future. So just let me know down below. And next we're going to hop into some tech cards that you could use in the deck. All right, so the first tech card is Viola. Viola, I would use potentially in place for Shirahoshi. And what Viola does is she is a blocker, but on play, you get to choose from 2 different effects. You can either look at all of your opponent's life cards and then rearrange them, or you can turn all of your own life cards face down. And that second effect is the more important one because that lets you refresh and re-enable your leader ability so that you can turn something else into a blocker. The only downside of this versus Shirahoshi is it's less sticky, so it's more likely to get removed. But I could definitely see running this over the Shirahoshi, depending on your local meta. All right. Another card that I could see being played in the deck and something that I might actually throw in myself is this Arouge. It is just a 5/7 vanilla, but with leader ability, it can turn into a 7k blocker, and it just gives you more options for your leader ability, basically. The next card is this event here. It's good for a couple of different reasons. The effect is look at up to 1 card from the top of your or your opponent's life cards and place it at the top or bottom of the life cards. And then after that, you KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. So the first part of the effect is good if you have one of your life cards stuck face up. You can move that to the bottom so that you can then use leader ability. And then the second part of the effect is the KO effect. And that's super useful for getting rid of annoying 5-cost bodies like the 5-cost Smoker or Cavendish or something like that. So very nice card. And then it also has a good trigger, which is cycle, draw 2 and trash 1. So good card. I could definitely see this being run. Next card is the old reliable 0-cost event. This lets you trash something and then get plus 3k power. And then the trigger is also super nice. So if this is your last life card, you can trash 1 from your hand and heal. So this is a potential game saver. I don't have room for it currently, but I could definitely see this being run in some kid lists. There are a ton of other cards that could be used in this deck. Those are just the first 4 that came to mind for me. But going forward, one change that I'm going to be making is I'm going to be swapping these 2 Zoros for 2 Arouges. I just want more 5-Dawn options for leader ability, and the extra counter is nice as well. But that's the only change I'm currently thinking of. I might make other changes in the future if I feel like it's necessary. But if I do, you'll see my updated list in the video descriptions of any Yellow Kid videos. So that's pretty much it for the deck list. If you have any questions, please reach out. I'd be happy to talk to you about this deck. It is super fun to play. I encourage you to at least test it out on the sim if you're curious. But thanks for watching. Have a good one. Peace.